Everyone thought she was just another tired woman in seat 2C, until fighter jets appeared outside the window. The world had forgotten her name Valkyrie, but the sky never did, and when Air Force One called, she was ready. Amy Carter walked through the airport with steady steps. She carried only one duffel bag. The early morning terminals smelled of coffee and cleaning spray. People hurried to their gates, pulling rolling bags, checking phones, whispering to children. Amy's ticket said 2C, a middle seat. She always seemed to get middle seats. Veterans like her learned not to complain. She had flown combat missions over deserts and mountains. She could handle one more cramped flight. When she reached her row, she paused. The aisle seat was taken by a man in a navy suit. His polished shoes tapped on the floor. His phone was still in his hand, though the crew had already asked passengers to switch devices off. He gave Amy a quick look when she gestured. His eyes held annoyance, as if she was already in his way. He shifted only enough for her to slide past. She heard him mutter, though she did not ask what. Amy sat down in 22C, placing her duffel bag carefully under the seat in front. At the window was a young woman with earbuds, lost in her music. She glanced once at Amy, then turned away. The man in the suit sighed loudly, returning to his messages. Amy clasped her hands together. She had seen that look before, the one that measured her in seconds and dismissed her. It was always the jacket. Her old flight jacket, faded green, with patches worn soft by years of use. Her name tag was almost unreadable, Carter. To her, it was only a memory of service. To strangers, it was something odd, out of place, a relic. She could feel their quiet judgment, even if no one spoke. The man broke the silence first. Military discount ticket. His voice carried sharpness, not curiosity. Amy said nothing. He smirked. Figures. Taxpayers footing the bill. Again, her jaw tightened. She stared at the safety card in the seat pocket. She had learned composure in fighter cockpits, waiting under missile lock for the exact moment to move. She could certainly endure a businessman's arrogance. When the flight attendant passed, Amy asked politely for water. The attendant's smile faltered. After takeoff, she said quickly, moving on. The man chuckled quietly, as if that proved something to him. Amy sat still. She had grown used to whispers and sideways glances. Once, her call sign had carried weight in rooms full of commanders. Once, her voice had led squadrons through radio static. Once, her choices had kept soldiers alive. Now she was invisible. The intercom clicked. The pilot announced takeoff. Engines roared. The man beside her groaned, sliding his phone into his pocket. Amy closed her eyes as the plane rolled forward. She remembered her first solo flight in an F-16. The afterburners had lit, the runway had blurred, and the horizon had tilted. Terror and joy had mixed in that single moment. Her call sign had been Valkyrie. People had spoken it with respect now. She was only Amy Carter, a woman in middle seat to 2C. Ignored, underestimated, dismissed. The man muttered again, "Figures they'd seat me next to trouble." Amy opened her eyes. She said nothing, but inside, something shifted. A spark. She pressed back against her seat as the aircraft lifted into the sky. Clouds swallowed the window view. Her instincts whispered. Something about this flight would be different. The plane climbed through thick morning clouds. Amy sat still, hands folded neatly in her lap. Two strangers. She looked like any tired traveler. Inside, her mind was sharp, scanning every detail. The man beside her leaned closer. His tone was low, meant only for her. "Military discount ticket, right?" His voice dripped with contempt. Amy did not respond. Silence had been her shield in many places, briefing rooms, war zones, even in civilian life, where no one understood her past. Still, her jaw tightened. The man smirked at her quiet. "Figures. Bet the taxpayers picked up your ticket. Must be nice." He leaned back, as if victorious. His polished shoes tapped a smug rhythm against the floor. On the window side, the student removed one earbud. She glanced at Amy, then quickly looked away. Confusion in her eyes, maybe unease. Not malice, but not respect either. Amy inhaled slowly through her nose, then let the breath out evenly. 6 deployments had drilled that rhythm into her body. It had calmed her through nights of missile fire and hostile skies. It would work here, pressed between people who could never imagine the world she carried. The seatbelt sign turned off. Passengers moved about. Children laughed at cartoons on seat screens. A family whispered about their vacation. All of it felt distant, unreal, like another life. The man leaned toward her again. So what was it? A desk job? Filing reports? Or do you just wear the jacket to look the part? This time Amy turned her head. Her eyes locked on his. Her gaze was steady, unblinking. For a second, he faltered. Then he chuckled nervously, mistaking her silence for weakness. You know, he continued, my money builds companies, creates jobs. I don't need applause for it. But hey, enjoy your free ride. His words pierced deeper than she liked to admit, not because they were true, but because they echoed what she had heard too often. People saw patches and jackets, but not sacrifice. They did not see sleepless nights, lost friends, or the burden of choices made at 30,000 feet. Amy turned to the window. Outside, the clouds were glowing in sunlight, billowing like mountains. She focused on them instead. The flight attendant returned with the beverage cart. When Amy asked for water again, the attendant hesitated before placing the cup. The man smirked. Amy ignored him, sipping slowly. Hydration, breathing, composure, small disciplines she clung to. The kind that had once kept her steady in combat. She remembered a job interview years earlier. She had walked in with a resume filled with flight hours, command, experience, leadership, under pressure. The interviewer had glanced at it and said, "So, you don't really have business experience." It had felt the same as now. Seen, yet unseen. Present, yet invisible. The man stretched, muttering under his breath. Always someone looking for a handout. Amy closed her eyes. Her silence was armor. Her calm was strength. But deep inside, something was stirring. Her instincts whispered again. This flight was different. Asterisk, the plane leveled. Conversations buzzed, but Amy's attention sharpened. She had flown long enough to hear tones others missed. The captain's voice came over the intercom, calm but clipped. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjusting for traffic in controlled airspace. Please keep seatbelts fastened. Most passengers hardly reacted. A few grumbled. The man beside her rolled his eyes. But Amy sat straighter. That wasn't turbulence. That wasn't routine. Her instincts, shaped by years in the cockpit, told her something was wrong. The aircraft shuddered suddenly. Overhead bins rattled. Gasps spread through the cabin. Some passengers cried out. The businessman's arrogance melted. His knuckles gripped the armrest. His bait. Is this normal? He stammered. Amy's expression stayed calm. Her body tensed like a predator waiting to strike. This was no ordinary turbulence. She had felt this before, the unseen tension of skies, when danger lurked just beyond radar. Through the window, a faint silhouette appeared in the clouds. Then another. Fighter jets. Amy's chest tightened. Their sharp wings and sleek fuselage were unmistakable. F-16s. Military escort. The businessman's face went pale. What is going on? Amy didn't answer. Not yet. Static buzzed over the intercom. Most passengers only heard garbled noise, but Amy's trained ears caught it. Clear, direct, undeniable. Valkyrie confirmed aboard civilian transport. Requesting acknowledgement. Her call sign. The name she had once carried through combat. Spoken with respect in briefing rooms. Whispered over radios in desperate hours. Amy's pulse quickened, though her hands stayed steady on the armrests. She glanced at the window again. The jets moved, with perfect precision, forming a protective shield around the aircraft. Passengers murmured nervously. Children clutched parents' arms. Smartphones were raised to record the strange sight. The businessman turned to her, voice trembling. Did they just say Valkyrie? Do you know what that means? Amy looked at him, eyes cold and precise. Yes, she said softly. Nothing more. The fighter jets adjusted, their wings tilting in silent. Signals only another pilot could read. Respect, recognition. The flight attendant stopped in the aisle, pale, hesitant. She leaned toward Amy. Ma'am. The cockpit is requesting your acknowledgement. Amy inhaled deeply. Her training returned in an instant. Every hour in the sky, every decision that had saved lives, every moment of discipline, it was all back. She nodded once, her voice calm. Even, Valkyrie acknowledges. The cabin went silent. Even the engine seemed quieter. Outside, one of the jets dipped its wing in salute. The world had judged her as invisible, but the sky remembered. Amy Carter was Valkyrie again. The cabin was tense. No one understood why fighter jets were flanking a commercial plane. Some whispered about terrorists, others about engine trouble. Children pressed their faces to windows, wide-eyed at the sight. But Amy knew. Every movement of those F-16s spoke a language she had not forgotten. The spacing, the angles, the way they shifted position. This was no routine patrol. This was deliberate. The intercom crackled again. The coded words were clear to her. Valkyrie confirmed status, awaiting instruction. Her call sign, spoken into the air like a key unlocking her past. The businessman beside her swallowed hard. His earlier arrogance had vanished. Do you understand what they're saying?